Yeah, I think everyone is so much into the vibe then, and sometimes you're dancing. Like recently, I mean, this year I attended a Sunidhi Chauhan concert
Huh.
in Wembley, and luckily I live in Wembley Park, so right next to the stadium, which is where most of the concerts happen. And she was saying that, because she said it on stage that there were a lot of people from the orchestra who didn't get a visa and could not join or could not be a part of the concert, and yet they did such an amazing job. And I was just thinking, like, wow, like, I had a whole new respect for all the people in the orchestra, because now I think singers have also started giving those credits to the members of the orchestra, and giving that sort of credit, and, announcing their names and saying, okay, this one on the drums, this one playing the guitar, because even Adnan Sami did that recently. But what I'm saying is, like, at Sunidhi Chauhan's concert, the vibe was just so electrifying, and she's such a powerhouse
Yes.
performer that even with less members in the orchestra compared to some of the other shows she had previously done, it was still amazing. Like everybody would just get up and start dancing, and even senior citizens would get up and start dancing, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, I feel like beyond the point, if like first of all, Sunidhi Chauhan is known for her like
Yeah,
amazing performances and skill, like stage presence. So
yeah.
I think when she connects with the audience, or when an artist like that is connecting with you, now whether there is something is missing, the lights not working, sounds not perfect, but you're all sort of in this communal
Yeah.
experience together, and it's just like it's the energy just works.
Yeah. And well, you yourself play so many instruments, right? Because you play the piano, you play the guitar, and what else? I mean, you're multi-talented.
I dabble in a bit of everything. I think as a producer, you kind of need to know
Yeah.
how an instrument works, so that even when you get like a professional player, you can guide them to get what you want. So yeah, a bit of everything, I would say.
That's amazing. And what has it been like collaborating with Savera on so many songs? Because you guys are almost like chuddy buddies, like they would say,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
guys kind of went to school together, and you attended college together, right? And obviously you have that same kind of like vision when it comes to music, right? So, when you collaborate with someone, like even someone who's got a similar vision, there can be disagreements sometimes, or like, things that you don't want to exactly do in the same way. So have you had that sort of thing? And then how do you reach like a mutual agreement to then go ahead with the final version?
Yeah, I think that's an important aspect of collaborating with someone, even if they're like your closest friend,
Yeah.
especially if they're your closest friend sometimes, because artistically and creatively, you want to be as authentic and honest to what you feel. So
Yeah.
if he doesn't like something, or if I don't like something, we both expect each other to tell the other person that, because we trust the other person.
Yeah.
And in Savera and my case, our system is not always, but usually, if both of us are yes, then it's going to be on the record. But if one of us is hesitant, then we'll try and change it and tweak it till both people are happy.
Mhm.
And sometimes he'll be like, just trust me on this. So sometimes I'll be like, listen, I know this is sounding good, don't worry.
Yeah.
And the other person just immediately trusts the other person, so it works out.
Well, that's amazing. I think ultimately, if you're still working together and you'll still collaborate, that just says a lot about you guys. And I think your kind of music has always sort of been described by the netizens as some kind of atmospheric pop, right? So, what's your take on that? And is there anything you would like to add to it, perhaps?
I think, I mean, I don't I like the term atmospheric pop, because it kind of, our vision, at least when we started off, was trying to create this textural, cinematic, ambient, atmospheric music,
Hmm.
but in a pop song. Like we still want to make pop songs and
Yeah.
make people move and and connect with a lot of people, but we want to try and give it this cinematic, uh, immersive quality that we like. So it's a cool term, I think, atmospheric pop. I like it.
Going back to cool terms, actually, a lot of people have messaged me when we did our first interview, and they were like, "Is this guy's real name Oaf?" And I was like, "No, it's Kabir, as you can see on his profile." But obviously, I knew what it meant because we had discussed it in our previous interview, and you told me it was something like silly or awkward.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
actually sounds quite cool, the name. So now do people resonate with that, or like are they like, okay, Oaf is performing, or do they still kind of call you Kabir, or it's just friends who know you?
No, it's changing. People when they speak to me also sometimes they call me like, Oof, how are you
Okay,
and stuff like that, which I am actually happy about because
really?
if people connect me with my artist name and
Sure.
that it connects with my music, I'm more than happy to respond to that name. I think the one thing I need to work on is people pronouncing it wrong because people say all kinds of things when they read Oof.
Like what? Like oof or something?
OAFF, OAFF, and, all kinds of things. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't really correct them these days, but I've been told that you need to correct them when they say it wrong.
So maybe in interviews also we should call you Oaf, because I don't know, for me,
Sure.
because obviously I had spoken to you before. I was like, hi
Yeah.
Kabir, but
Yeah, yeah,
um
no, no.
it's definitely like good for people to know this, especially like some of my followers who asked me during our first interview, and afterwards when I posted it again after the release of Gehraiyaan, I think that's when people started, because initially, like when I posted my interview with Lotika, like the song had not become such a huge hit yet, but afterwards I put up a few stories and stuff, and then people were like, oh my god, is it her, is that her, like the singer of Dubey? Because I think audiences not don't always kind of research like कि ये गाना
Sure.
किसने गाया है. They're
Yeah.
just vibing to the song. So I think as someone who works in media, I feel like it's my responsibility to kind of announce that to everybody and say that this song was sung by this person, or even with big artists sometimes, like I think barring maybe one or two, like Arijit, and everybody kind of like recognizes his voice. But I think
Yes.
barring one or two, like sometimes people get confused as well. They'll be like, ये सोनू निगम ने गाया है या फिर किसी और ने, So I
Sure.
think,
And I think as artists, like it's, of course, if people resonate with your music, that's
yeah.
number one. Like whether you know who made it or not, but people should love the song. But then when you get that sort of acknowledgement of like, oh, are you the person who made this song that I connected with so deeply? It always feels nice, and it's always kind of nice to hear that from someone.
And I think also that's the power of social media nowadays, that, there's so much you can convey to your followers, and people actually, they can see a face, like they can see, okay, the face of the person who sang it, or the face of the person who has created that piece of music. Whereas earlier, back in the 90s, I mean, I grew up listening to music in the 90s, which was amazing. I mean, I love all my Bollywood tracks from the 90s. But I've always had a genuine interest in Bollywood. But people who perhaps did not, they didn't really know, like, for example, like what do Jatin Lalik look like,
Sure,
or
yeah.
let's say like some other maybe like some other
Yeah.
singer like Abhijit. But now, because also a lot of these singers and performers have started judging reality shows, I think they're more out there in the public for people to see them, on TV and on social media. So I think it's a great time that where you're actually creating music, because people can now recognize you, and they can like interact with you on social media as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like we're just starting our journey and careers with the movies and Bollywood, but
Yeah.
it's always strange firstly, but nice later when once in a while I get somebody on the road or at a restaurant or like at the airport or somebody like, hey, are you off? And I'm like, oh wow, how did you? And then I realized that they probably saw my face on social media
On
or
socials,
something
yeah.
like that, and they recognize me. So yeah, I think it's a great time for musicians to really put themselves out there.
Yeah. And you obviously grew up in Ahmedabad, right? That's
Yeah.
where you kind of grew up. So, did you always have this dream of moving to Mumbai and working in Bollywood? Or you kind of envisioned things in a different way, that you would just create your kind of like indie pop music and maybe do something completely different?
Yeah, I never really thought of moving to Bombay. Didn't really. listen, watch Bollywood for most of my life.
Nice.
Uh,
Okay.
Even now, I mean, if you ask me about what's really happening, I'm not fully clued in. Like I'm trying my best to learn as much as I can, but we don't know much. My dream was just to make the kind of music that I want to make and
Mhm.
put it out. And I didn't really have a plan, to be honest. I was just like, I'll figure it out. So
Sometimes God has the best plans for you, and it's just
yeah,
destiny, right?
yeah, 100%. Like you don't know what means what and what, like why this incident happened, or why this met this person, or why you made this decision. But later on, when you look back, you kind of see this connection between events to lead you to where you are, and it's powerful.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And tell us a bit about your other song which you collaborated on with Savera, Feel You Now.
Yeah.
What was it like? I mean, working on that piece, and what kind of vision did you have before you released that song?
Yeah, so after Gehraiyaan, we signed to Sony for a few songs that we are doing with them, and we are Sony artists. And so our first song with them, and which is a collaboration between Savera and me, was "Feel You Now." And again, it was just like both of us were jamming in the studio, and we were kind of in the middle of projects, didn't really have some idea. And usually somebody plays something and the other person like, oh, that's cool. I let me try this. And then somebody be like, let me try this. And we made that song. And yeah, it just sort of happened. We got to make a cool music video with it with our friends. Like our director is one of my closest friends. The actor is a really close friend of ours.
Yeah.
So it was just like, and Lotika is also in that song again. So it's so it was just like the gang sort of got back together after Gehraiyaan and made a song. Yeah.
Everyone who worked on Gehraiyaan, so that was amazing.